Welcome back to Wrist Check Podcast. This is episode 17.
Woo!
We got a special guest on the couch with us today. A good friend and supporter of us from the very start, Mr. Ricardo Sime. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Sime.
Sime. Thank you for correcting me. Contributing writer for Time and Tide and watch collector.
Yes.
So this should be a good one. But first, wrist check. Ben, you want to kick us off?
Tried and true Omega. I don't know why. For the last 2 weeks, it's been the only thing I've been grabbing when I leave the house.
That's what's up.
So I'm leaving it on. I'm just
no reason to
feeling
take it off, sir.
Exactly. I'll probably get a new strap in the next couple of weeks or so.
That one looks like it's coming in well, though.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of it already, though.
Really?
That's my problem.
It looks good.
I kind of want to go purple. Or
I
like
respect
a really,
that.
really dark, like Heineken bottle green.
Did you, weren't you getting like a John Rousseau?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on it.
Okay. What color is that one?
Orange.
Respect.
Like
That looks that's
crazy,
just in time for the
crazy
summer,
orange.
maybe?
I know, that's why I'm doing
Okay.
it.
Nice.
I'll go next. I'm wearing another tried and true. I'm wearing my BB58 bronze. Love this piece. I think I shared the story on the pod about how I got that when we had Nick on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had drinks with Nick the other night, which was fun. But yeah, man, this thing, I mean, it gets a couple of spins each week and I still haven't cleaned it. It's still, the patina is just getting darker. It's nice. And I enjoy it a lot. What do you got for us today, sir? Oh,
New edition. New edition. Still feeling myself. Not repeating the watch.
so this is the thing. I don't know if you caught this a couple episodes. Okay, but so this man,
But he did, in fact, repeat a watch, though.
when?
You repeated a watch.
No, I didn't repeat
Yeah,
a
you
watch.
did. You did. Technically, you did.
I only shared it on Instagram, but we didn't share it on the show.
He didn't repeat a watch on the show, not on
Yes.
tape.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a new edition, and actually one of my new faves. Ben actually suggested this one to me. So I wanted a 70s Grand Seiko, originally with a Kenji date wheel. I was like, man, I want to pay like this price. I want to find like this and that, whatever. And like, bam, Ben finds it.
Of course he does. That's what he does.
This is what he does. He goes and he sends it to me. I'm like, boom, it's brought. He goes, oh man, you're impulsive. And I was like, come on now.
I like how he just kind of throws those small little insults in there real quick just for you to hold that.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't do it.
He's like, oh, he's impulsive. But this is a 70s piece. I love it. It stays true to like the Grand Seiko design. Just with the case size, the Zaratsu polishing is still there. It has that beautiful mirror finish. It's a high beat movement. The only disappointment I did have is that it is only for the U.S. market, so it doesn't have a second language on the date wheel.
That makes it a little more special, though. You got a Grand Seiko made for the U.S. in the 70s. It's not a thing.
That is pretty true.
Pretty tight,
So
man.
you actually got more than what you asked for.
It's a good way to look
See?
at it.
Here we go.
Listen, the
rainbow.
the rainbows have to come from like the fingertips. We have to edit that.
Yeah, we should.
What do you got for us, sir?
Got another bay.
There we go.
This is my black bay steel. First, really, I don't know if expensive is the word, but first I had to think about it like at least 2-3 weeks before I put down that amount of money. Watch.
Okay.
This thing has been with me through everything. Birth of my son, my wedding, like this thing has seen it all.
That's awesome.
Actually got it serviced through a wonderful watch shop in down here. And yeah, this is Bay. This is Bay.
Bay.
Bay the Bay.
Yeah.
Bay Bay.
There you go.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
How long did it take it to get serviced?
So you see, now I got to give you the full story.
Please.
So I was home and I was washing the dishes. I'd love to say I was out mountain climbing and it fell off my wrist and all this great stuff happened. But no, I was washing the dishes and I took it off simply because I knew that I was going to be banging it around. I had a lot of stuff to wash. And as I took it off, it slipped out of my hands and fell into the floor. And like as I'm slowly going to the floor to pick
Everything's
it up,
in slow motion.
I'm like, please don't be messed up. Even though I know I'm still gonna have to bring it in just for someone to check it out.
Yeah.
Please don't be messed up.
It's like a Brodinky meme.
Oh, man. I pick it up, I turn it around, and the second hand is just spinning in the watch.
Oof.
And I just said, okay, I gotta
Hate to
get
see
it
it.
serviced. But that was a whole other thing too, because I have to tell them, don't replace this, don't replace this.
Right.
This means something to me. The dent on the bezel, I want to see it again. But yeah, that's how the
And how long did it take them to service that?
pretty quick actually.
Yeah.
Maybe 3-4 weeks.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
fast.
really good.
Because I think they have a place down here, so I don't know if it had to go all the way back to Switzerland.
Mm.
But it was pretty quick. Like I was surprised. I was crying when I had to send.
This
it
is
out.
like an official like tutor like
Yeah.
servicing spot.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah.
That's awesome. 3
Had
weeks.
amazing service too.
That's great.
Yeah.
But just a great spot, and yeah, man, this thing has seen it all.
Respect. That's incredible. Moving along, just take an opportunity to get to know you. Where are you from?
From in terms of where's the family from, or from in terms of
You can give us both. Why not?
I'm a Brooklyn boy.
Respect.
So that's my borough. Family's from Haiti.
Okay.
Mom came in, I'd say late 70s, had me. I'm the only one in the family born here.
Okay.
So that's kind of the background of where I'm from.
Yeah. Respect.
So you being Haitian, you can kind of give us a little bit of some French here.
Oh,
Here we go.
I was like the French aficionado, but like now we have somebody that really speaks
he
French
is our
here.
resident French expert.
I hate to say I'm not going to be of any help. My French is...
He really just only wants you to say, "Je l'écoute." That's what he wants.
Je l'écoute.
Woo!
Oh, there you go. That's pretty good.
So yeah, that's I'm more Haitian
Yeah.
Creole, and when it comes to the French, I completely understand it when someone's talking to me, but if they ask me to talk it back, that's not happening. Yeah,
I hear that.
difficult.
It's good to be in company of a fellow New Yorker. So
Yes.
definitely happy about that.
You're outnumbered, Perry. You got 3 Brooklyn boys here with you.
Word. I think, well, more in the room, actually, that you can't see on camera. I'll hold it down for the Bronx, though. It's all good. How did your love affair with watches start?
So my love affair started with a memory.
Okay.
So for me, I remember the first real important watch I ever got, which was I graduated junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, working hard, nights, grandma's kind of taking care of us. She ended up going to Macy's and she picked me up this Fossil diver.
Okay.
It was blue with black. And that's as much as I remember about the watch, because I banged the heck out of it. And ask me where it is today,
Couldn't
I
tell.
have no clue, couldn't tell. But I just remember that watch so much. And I remember the feeling I got from that watch, because it wasn't just a watch, it was the person who gave it to me. It meant so much to me. And I'd say about 6 or 7 years ago, this is after I met my wife, and I kind of know, hey, this is now the path that I'm going down. If I'm lucky enough, if I'm blessed, I'll have a child.
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking about what is it I want to leave my child? Like, what is that thing that when they look at, they'll be like, that's dad's.
Yeah.
And I went back to the feeling I got when my mom gave me the Fossil, and I was just like,
There
watches.
it is. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that just started the whole craziness. You guys know.
Very
Oh,
powerful.
yeah. Unfortunately / fortunately, we did.
Yeah.
So I take it this is the oldest piece in your collection that you have with you today. Where'd you go from there? You brought some watches in for us to take a look at too from your personal collection. What was the next move after the Black Bay?
So the Bay is the oldest piece that I have now in terms of that's still in the collection.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got back into, when I started to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Oh man, like I went through 50, 60 watches.
Sound like this guy. A lot of 3 a.m. purchases.
Oh man, you name it. Like if it was something that caught my attention, like a Hamilton, I'd be like, yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna get that. And then I would go on trips and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna pick up a swatch.
Yeah.
And then I blink and I have like 15 watches in front of me. And then now you start to get into, okay, oh, watch you see. Oh, you could sell stuff here. In, out, in, out, in, out. And then everything kind of slowed down at a certain point where I was just like, okay, you've experienced about 60 watches. Let's stop and ask ourselves, what is it that you like?
I was waiting for you to hit that point because that's like when everything starts to click. Yeah.
So that moment comes and I'm just like, okay, I don't mind smaller sizes, so I could do 38s, 39s. My top limit is probably like 43. I don't like how 44 wears. And like really detailed.
How long was that process for you to discover that?
Oh man, it had to be at least 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
2 or 3 years. Because you have so much noise coming out to you. People are telling you how they collect.
Yep.
And you take little tidbits and little parts of it and kind of incorporate into what you do. But you never fully take everything they do because you're still trying to find your own unique identity. So, 2 to 3 years, minute things, the dial, the size, the thickness, even like the lug width.
Yeah.
To kind of think about what looks nice on my wrist to the point where, especially in today's atmosphere where it's very difficult to really see a lot of watches in person, like you have to be able to look at a page and look at some of the specs and be like,
kind of put it together in your head.
Yeah. Like, how does that wear? Would I even like it? I like the aesthetic, but it's not going to wear well. Next. And then you kind of just go through that process.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, things slowed down to where instead of maybe getting 2 or 3 watches a month, I was now getting maybe 1 to 2 watches maybe every 4 months.
Okay.
Because you also start to get very picky.
Yes.
About what you want. And not everything you like. And I funny story. So I had a sit down with my wife at one point in time. And I was just like, hon, I love you. But if you're ever going to get me a watch as a gift, I really need you to consult with me first.
See, as the only other married man in the room, I totally understand.
So it's weird because on one hand, you're like, I don't want to not appreciate her getting me something, regardless of what she gave. She would get me. I would love it. But knowing how crazy I am about watches, it would best be if I told her, like I would drop hints, like, how ladies would do. They drop hints. I like this. Like, oh man, dang.
Send a link.
Yeah, send a link. That Tudor looks nice, don't it, honey?
Yeah.
Check the catalog. And I would just do that. And my family members, they started to understand that. So now I get like different things as gifts instead of watches because they know how crazy I am about watches.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a serious thing.
No,
I mean,
very
because
serious.
when you get to that point where you like, what your aesthetic is, what you feel comfortable wearing, you're very nitty gritty about the details. And all those little things matter. And to someone who maybe isn't as passionate about collecting, maybe they appreciate it, but they haven't figured out for themselves, let alone do they understand, or can really contextualize what it is that you actually like. You kind of have to, you know what I'm saying? And I feel you on that.
Yeah. But it's always a tough conversation to have, but I feel like you said, you understand.
Yeah.
It's one that you kind of have to have. It's like I wouldn't just step out and buy my wife a wedding ring without asking her or knowing anything about what she wanted in that.
Oh,
in that ring.
exactly.
Yes.
So same thing with a watch. Like for me, I would ask her, don't just go out. Like there's certain things that I really like and certain things I don't like.
Yeah.
So now I have a question. So, in the beginning of your like watch collecting journey, you were more into like volume. And now kind of like, it seems like you're now very meticulous and into like quality. Are there still some pieces in like that 50 piece lineup that you just like, man, I love this so much. Like I can't part from it. Like was it kind of hard to like downsize and kind of go that route?
It wasn't, because I'll tell you exactly what happened. I had about 10 watches, and I saw the first few news outlets talking about the black bay steel. And in my mind, like that, I'm selling everything and I'm getting that watch. and when your mind tells you that, that's like an instant way of you knowing that's the watch for you. Because you're willing to just cut the cord on these watches and be like, that's the watch I want. And I sold like pretty much everything. I like scrummaged a few hundred here, haggled with some people over here to make the few thousand. Then the things I did to get that watch. The detective work that I did to get this watch. So on on eBay, I found the watch. Someone was selling it. And you guys know eBay got fees. Guys don't listen. eBay has fees, so it really ties into the cost of the watch.
Oh yeah.
So I did some detective work. I saw the username of the individual on eBay, and I'm just like, if he's selling this, if he bought this watch, this man got to be on Watch You Seek. Okay, let's check Watch You Seek. Search Watch You Seek, found him. I said, handle a quick side deal. I'm like, is there a way that I could get the watch through here? This is what I'll pay. He's like, okay, cool. Wow. I got you. And because for him, he doesn't have to worry about the fees. For me, I don't have to worry about the fees. And you sell it directly to someone in the watch fam. And it worked out perfectly. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit more on the story on this watch. Yeah.
That's an interesting point too, because when you use a lot of those platforms, what you do realize is that a lot of these guys are everywhere. They're on every single platform. They'll be on Chrono 24. They'll be on eBay. They'll be on Watch You Seek. They'll kind of all over the place. So if you do the detective work, you can kind of like skim through and like get little things happening. So going back to what we have in front of us, not that it directly falls after this, but what's the next piece here in terms of your acquisition?
Okay, so we have... First is, this is such an important watch for me.
You've been hooked on that lately.
This one is this is I think we covered this on our first episode.
Yeah, we did the very first.
We were
episode.
really excited about this piece.
This watch, it
gets a lot of love on your Instagram.
Dude, you're telling me it's both for good and bad reasons. Because you guys know where people immediately go with this watch.
Sure,
of course.
But it has to be the GS, the recent steel bezel GMT. I had always wanted a Grand Seiko, always. But like I tell anybody who would come to me for advice for a watch, I always say, buy the watch. Don't necessarily just be trying to buy into the brand. Yeah. So just because you want a Grand Seiko doesn't mean the first one you see you grab. Same way, just because you want a Rolex doesn't mean the first thing you just grab is.
Amen.
Yes, absolutely.
So I knew I always wanted this, and I just told myself, this is what I want. I really want a GMT from them. I want just a mechanical GMT. I want the steel bezel, and I just want. There's just something about a GS. It pops differently. Yeah. Than like. I'll be honest. This was in competition with, I can't even say competition because before this got released, my mind was set on putting money together and getting an Explorer 2. Sure. And that's the watch I wanted. I was just like, this is great. I put the money aside. This is it. And then they released this. And same way with the Tudor. It just clicked. Yeah. Like, it was just like, that's the watch. Like, the green dial, which goes from like a light green to like a dark forest green.
It's really nice.
It pops.
It really does.
Where the Explorer 2 can be very sporty and almost, industrial isn't the word I'm looking for, but
robust.
Robust, yeah. Sure. Where it could be very robust, I feel like with the GS, I could literally wear that in any situation.
So it's interesting you say that because I was just, as you're describing the Explorer 2, that's kind of the difference. Like, And we talked about it a little bit with Kelly, I think. The Explorer 2 kind of channels like, for me, ultimate tool watch, right? Something that you can like beat up, ding up, scratch up. But like there's something that makes you kind of want to be rough with it. Mm-hmm. This has a little bit of that too, but there's also a level of sophistication that this piece has that the Explorer 2 does not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this looks prettier than the Explorer 2.
It does.
So this, I would put it right between the Explorer 2 and like a GMT Master, where the GMT Master is very bling, very, especially with the new bracelet.
Yep.
It's very shiny, kind of in your face. And you have completely on the other side of the spectrum, the Explorer 2, which is kind of that very sporty, robust look. This lines up perfectly in the middle where the dial gives you that nice classic glitz and like pop that you want, but the case is robust enough to where like I could go swing with that watch and I could do a bunch of things with that watch and I'd have no problem.
The indices really pop on it too, which is like the most killer thing for me against that green dial.
Yeah. And it
like they're just so sharp.
Like I try to tell myself, you know, and this is going back to when I was telling you guys the comparison that was immediately made. Mm-hmm. And I try to tell myself, Ricardo, don't listen to it. It's just noise. You know, you're getting the watch for yourself. But it got to a point where I got so
it gets under your skin.
So heated.
Yeah, it gets under your skin. Sure.
And people would just be like, "Oh, that's just an Explorer 2." I'm like, "Oh, so Rolex has a green dial GMT with a 4 o'clock date window, and they do it." And then I would hear nothing. I'm like, "So tell me, other than the steel bezel on this watch, please tell me where the comparison."
That's it.
And then no one would say anything. And then after a while, I just said, "Why am I even arguing?"
Seriously.
I got this watch because it means so much to me, and it's that turning point in my collecting, like another turning point. And I was just like, I have to get this.
So it's funny because we covered on our first episode, that was one of the pieces that I chose to talk about because it kind of clicked for me there too. I still want an Explorer 2. There's something about it's, in reality, it's the only Rolex I actually really want is an Explorer 2. But there's something about this piece that, yes, it checks that box. And then there's another thing, if I'm being honest, where it's like, it's extra cool because it's not a Rolex.
Exactly.
You know? And it's like for people who are like, hey, that's not an Explorer 2. It's like, you're right.
That's the point.
It's not.
It's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is to like strengthen our point about how this is kind of in between an Explorer and almost being like a more flashy in your face watch, kind of like a GMT comes off to be, is that you took it off the bracelet and put it on the strap.
Yep.
You can't do that to a Rolex. They just all look bad.
Yeah, it's true.
You take the bracelet off of a Rolex and put something on there that it doesn't come with, it just doesn't look good.
The old Explorer 2s, though, you can put on a NATO.
Yeah, but they're 39s.
Exactly.
Case proportions are different.
Yeah, the new ones you
can't
cannot.
take a modern Rolex
It does not look
and
good.
take them off their bracelet. They just don't look good. This, you can do that, and that's kind of where you have the advantage. You can dress this up if you want to. Can't dress up a modern Rolex. Just is what it is.
And most people I know, they get their Rolexes, they never want to take it off the bracelet.
Yeah, that's because I think subconsciously they know it's gonna look like shit.
Yeah. So you have taken a lot of photos of this piece. Obviously, you've gotten a lot of feedback. But just following your page and looking at the work that you do with Tom and Tide, you take really awesome watch photos, which is incredibly difficult to do.
Yes.
Because I try and I fail. How did you, were you always into photography? How did that, I imagine it came very naturally to you as you got into watches, but when did that sort of click?
So photography for me started more as a crap moment. The reason I say that is because back in 2019, before I started with Time and Tide, I was part of this group on YouTube called Watch With Us.
Okay.
And, our goal was to create this presence on YouTube where you would have different perspectives when it comes to watches. Almost like a one-stop watch channel where you could come and you could see this person in their perspective, or you can see this person in their perspective. And when we really hit the ground running, one day, a good friend of mine who was also part of this, his name is John Keel. He owns a micro brand retail company called Watch Gauge. And he called me up. Mind you, my wife is like, just found out she's pregnant.
Okay.
Calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to go to Basel? Like, let's make that our first kind of introductory thing that we do for the channel." And I said, I gotta hit you back. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, how did that go over?
I was gonna say that. Listen, you proposed that to your pregnant wife, or like she's definitely like.
But she just found out she was pregnant.
Just so she probably conceived in January, found out she was pregnant in February.
Okay.
And then he, in the same time frame, he calls me and he asked me that. And I remember it clearly. I think I turned to my wife and I gave her, like, I don't know if you guys remember Shrek, Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
The
cat eyes. Take the hat off and you're like.
I literally I turned to her, I gave her the cat eyes, and I think a lot of it was because she was very, very early on in her pregnancy.
Yeah.
So it that helped. But she said, knowing how passionate I was about her, actually pause, shout out, love you, hun. You make all this possible.
Shout out to Ricardo's wife.
Yeah,
Yes.
shout out.
Shout out to the wives.
Oh man. So she says, I know how passionate you are about this. Go ahead.
That's awesome.
And we head over there and we book everything, and in my mind I'm thinking, okay, what can I contribute to this to kind of make this run? And my mind immediately went to photography and taking some pictures beforehand, off and on, but at that point in time, it's just like, okay, that's what I can contribute. And I just went down the rabbit hole. Every YouTube video you could think about, anything I could get my hands on before that March date, I grabbed it and I was just like, okay, ISO. What else do I have to worry about? Exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And I just soaked up everything. So that when Basel came, I'm not going to say my pictures were spectacular, but they were to the point where they were decent enough for us to be able to use.
Sure.
And push the watch with us forward. And since then, it's just been a progression. I've been lucky enough to be around a lot of like really great photographers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a dude named Waitlisted.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, his pictures are great.
Great. Oh,
he
man.
just posted that. What was that watch?
He did all that
just
stuff
got?
with Zach too.
Was it? It was like
Yes.
it was a Ming. I think he
The
posted.
Ming with
the chronograph, the
was it the
monopusher
Ming
chrono.
with the shades with like the which one?
There was
I'm
one
about
he
to look
just
it up.
posted recently.
I think it's the Ming chronograph.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not the one that I like. It's not the Odengraph. I think it was a different one. I think it was like
It was like
17
a
something.
orange strap.
I'll let you know right now. Yeah, Ming 19.cr.
Let me see the picture.
It's
Yeah,
that smoke.
this-
Yes.
That smoke
Yeah,
sapphire
yeah.
crystal.
Fire.
When I saw that picture and I just said, like, dude,
How'd
like,
you do
this
that?
can't be real. Like, this is a computer render. Like, there's no way this is real.
No,
this
that's
looks
I shared that on.
This
yeah,
looks
it's
so amazing.
good.
And, there was his help. Another dude named Ty Alexander Photography. He helped me out. Watch fam. Really, when there are people out there that will really help you when you want to do something.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I picked up so many things from them and so many tips. And I've just like slowly been progressing to a point now where I feel comfortable enough to use the camera and have an idea in my head and know, okay, how can I execute that with the camera? And that's kind of the progression.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the photography that you do. And then also there's your writing with Time and Tide. And I like your article. I really enjoy it. We were talking about that before the camera started rolling, but you were kind of hinting at what might be your next acquisition.
Yes.
And so if I can, I'll bring us forward to
Go ahead.
the Omega Novelties.
Yes.
Get your opinion on some of what's been discussed. But you were caught up in the middle of, you had your eyes set on a Breitling chronomat, right? Which is an awesome watch.
Yeah.
Blue dial.
Yes.
And then Omega comes and throws his curveball.
Yeah, man.
And
Drop
just
that heat. Drop that heat.
so much heat.
Oh man.
Just like,
Yeah.
Dude, like
They made it hard for a lot of people.
Oh man, I mean, you guys said it best. I think last episode, in terms of what they do, is just amazing. So when that watch came out, and I'm looking at price points, and I see that the how close those two watches are in price, and I'm writing the introduction on the Speedmaster, so I'm looking into all the details, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like dang, this is good, this is real good, and I'm like, okay, this is probably like maybe 12 or something, 8,600, and I was just like, man, like, you messed up my whole plans. Like, the Chronomat was in my mind. I was like, I'm getting that watch no matter what. And they dropped the Speedmaster 57, and
all the colors are great.
Oh,
if we're being honest, like there's that one that's like a crimson.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the one I gotta have.
I like the blue, but I appreciate the crimson. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the old Michael Schumacher Speedmaster.
Oh yeah, we talked about
that. We talked about that on one of the episodes.
They have like this kind of heavy white dial and that same type of texture as you see in the red. And when you see the red close up, it's almost like it's a matte red.
Yeah.
But it looks so good.
Yeah.
So good. And you're sitting there, and then you're comparing aesthetics, and you're comparing, what's inside the watch. And man, they just have the ability to smoke everyone.
Smoke them.
Yeah,
like it's to the point where I think people don't even. Sadly, people don't really even acknowledge just how good they are at what they do.
So
people
good.
are just so quick to jump on the whole, they make too many special editions.
Yeah,
they do this. And then I'm like, dude, like, technically speaking, they make some of the best watches at those price points right now.
Heck yeah.
Yes, 100%.
So when they come and they start to rumble in that sub 10K chronograph zone, like,
they're smoking everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, dude, not even close. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's my number one brand, man. I just think just in terms of like, not just their history, their contribution to timekeeping, but when you get down to technology and then you go to aesthetics.
Yep.
I mean, Omega is like, they just make like, it feels like luxury.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like everything that they do, even like we were talking about I made a joke, and I was maybe joking, but not really joking. Yeah. But like, selling my green OP and like maybe getting 3 of the
yes, yeah. No, I mean,
the
like,
Aquaterras are amazing.
They did a really, really good job with the releases, and especially like the Speedmasters. And when we have been covering the Speedies, just how passionate I know these two guys are about them. Like, it excites them, and that's the thank you. Yeah. Like, thank you for kind of being loyal to the brand, because now we give you
what
4 or 5. We give you what you want.
Things you didn't even know you want.
4 or 5 more references for you to collect from the past. Like,
it felt like Christmas.
Exactly. So for all those guys that have been collecting these Speedmasters for all these years, they can still continue to collect them. In between, like you said, the white noise, everyone's sitting there and saying, oh, this is this and this is that, and you need this and you need that. But it's like, no. Hit the pause. What do you like? What do you enjoy?
I'll say something else too. Me and my wife went to Miami.
Shout out to Perri's wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She watches just for that part now.
Yeah. Expect it.
We met up with some family out there, and we were in the Miami Design District, and we walked into the Omega Boutique out there. One of the best experiences I've ever had. I didn't buy anything. But the staff there and the manager that they had running that spot was incredible. One of the best experiences I've had walking into a watch store. Like, I couldn't give them enough praise. It was amazing.
And, make a great point, because you think about these two, and I feel like people forget when a release comes out who the watches are actually for.
Mm-hmm.
So when those colored Aquaterras came out, and you immediately saw the memes where it's just, oh, it's this, it's this, it's this. Like, I had to ask myself, okay, so what are you guys saying? If someone is an Omega fan, they can't get these colors. That's basically
what they're saying.
That's what you're saying. So you see the Seamaster 300 in green. Oh my gosh, it's like the Hulk. So what you're saying is, if someone is an Omega fan, they can't get a green watch. And when you put it in those terms, I think people start to stop and think. Like, they're so quick to forget that, yes, you may love that brand, but there are a million other people who love this brand.
Yes.
So you shouldn't be thinking in terms of, oh, they can't have this. It's Omega's aesthetic. It's their design.
Yeah.
And they're putting a color on it. Please explain to me what is so wrong.
What's the problem?
What's wrong with that? Exactly.
What is the problem?
What is wrong with that?
And you know what else that goes into? A lot of people have never actually held both watches in their hands.
Exactly.
Yep. Yes.
And we said that on the show too. It's like, I felt like a lot of these people, if you're judging the Aquaterra, that you've never seen one in person.
Yes.
Because it's an awesome watch. I remember I went to the Dave Chappelle show at he did a show at Madison Square Garden, and I ran into some dude online at the concession stand, and he was wearing one. And I was like, man, that thing is great. He was like, this? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful timepiece,
100%.
you know?
100%.
So in terms of the noise and what you write with Time and Tide and how that comes together with social media, what do you feel right now about the state of like the watch industry? Like those two worlds coming together, like, you know, you have like people who are genuine collectors, like that are into it. And like, we're big on not watch shaming. Like, I might not like something, but I'm not going to speak down on something that you like. Like, I might like something that you think is like, whatever. But social media has like opened the floodgates where now everyone thinks they're an expert.
Yep.
On top of everyone having an opinion. And they need to sort of
To everybody.
Well, the funny thing is that's because social media lets you do it. Listen, let's be honest. If I don't like the watch you're wearing on your wrist, I probably won't tell you to your face.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Which is true.
Yes.
But it'll
Ben
come.
Yeah,
No, Ben will be like, that watch sucks.
But the sad thing is, it'll come out in another way.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you feel that kind of undercurrent, that kind of snobby kind of undertone when people are talking to you. It's in terms of like the state of how things are. I love social media right now for watches because it's allowed me to meet so many interesting people, a la you guys.
Same. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's great, but there's always this other downside.
It's a
to it.
double-edged sword.
Yeah. There's so many benefits, but on the other hand, there's so many downsides because what social media has allowed to happen is now you feel like you're in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Where popularity of a brand almost silences anything else that you could hear. So you hear a lot of the same things. This watch, this watch, this watch. You see it almost all the time. This watch, this watch, this watch. Where if I was first coming into this, I can't lie. Seeing all that, I would think, oh my gosh, like I need to get this watch. Like it seems like that's the hotness. That's what's hot in these streets right now.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I got to jump on this.
Yes. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
go ahead.
I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you're saying. The funniest thing, and you know, for when I do talk to guys about watches, 9 times out of 10, if someone's watch shaming you, they're really not your friend.
No,
Well, hey,
You know what I mean? Hey.
Or if it's me, I'm only doing it because I want what's best for you.
Yes.
But I'm the exception.
Ben
Sure.
is the exception because he definitely gives very great suggestions in watch straps. And if you're looking for a watch, he will find it for you.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, like, as far as like, you know, like you're saying, like this double-edged sword of like social media, it gives everyone a voice and not every voice needs to be heard. The only thing is that with social media, everything is heard.
Well,
Nothing slips through the cracks. You know, my opinion versus your opinion versus anybody else's opinion is all in a melting pot, and then we all decide on who's right, wrong, and everything else.
And the thing with that is A is an opinion. There's not a right or wrong, really, unless it's just a terrible take, but that's a different story. And also,
I'll
it's
kill
like,
you.
it's like because everyone's saying everything, it's like what you don't know what is what.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's not. I'd love to say it was just opinions, but like there are things that people are saying as fact.
That's wrong.
Like that's just wrong.
And you had a post the other day that I saw that I loved. I was like, let's go. And I thought it needed to be said, but also you did it in like a very kind and tasteful way.
Yes.
And it was like, hey, listen, you're excited. You're new here. I get it. Pump the brakes. Educate yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and you know what it is? Because a friend of mine had just sent me a message, and he had gone in a back and forth with somebody because they basically said AP created the green rush in terms of why so many watches are green. And my friend was politely educating them on in terms of no, that Omega green actually comes from here. This is and instead of taking it as an educational moment, like, oh, my bad, like I thought that this was the case, that person just went back and forth, and that's what spurred me to post that. It's just like I understand the excitement that you have when you first get in, but just be mindful that there's a lot of stuff being said that you can't just take for fact. Like, take the time out, do some research. You see somebody say, oh, You're like, oh, is that really the case? What, takes you maybe 2-3 minutes, Google it.
Seriously.
Fact check.
And then you're straight, and you know exactly, oh, they're wrong. Oh, actually, they're right. But I was at that point in time, and mind you, it's something that didn't even happen to me. But just because he told me, I was like, you know what?
It grinds my
I'm gonna
gears.
do this for you.
I'm
Sure.
gonna post this just to kind of, and I got that same vibe from everyone. Like a lot of people just message me like, man, like, dude, you don't understand. Like this is the environment that we're in. We're just it's a mixture of excitement, and it's also a mixture of snobbery. It's almost like it's coming down from a snob tree.
Sure.
Where you have one person at the top who's yelling, this is the end all be all. And then you have other people simply because, you know, once you talk the way the algorithms work, once you talk about a specific brand, it kind of floods what you see. And now it just trickles down to everyone else thinking, oh, he's saying it, it must be the truth. Oh yeah. And then now you're dealing with people who just got into watches who are just like, oh yeah, this is the truth.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find a very polite and kind way to say, no, it's actually not the truth.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually what the case is. Do some research. You'll find out that this is what it is. This is where this came from. You know.
That's why I love the watch community as much as I do. And I'm still new here. But the main reason is you come across, like, first, like, yeah, there's all this excitement, but then you run across people that have information to share.
Yes.
Right. And when you come across people who like really have this passion like you do, they're not the snobs.
Yes.
It's just like, yo, let's just share information. What do you like? This is what I like. You share stories, you share pieces, and it turns into something that's more enjoyable for everybody, where it's literally bringing people together. And that's kind of like what the podcast has done for us. You know what I'm saying? You had something you wanted to add?
No, well, it's funny that you like, and I always bring it up. We are always in sync, and it's so weird because I'm thinking the same thing you're thinking, and listening to you is like, you know, I think life is so relative, and when you talk about like community, in our community, or at least in our circles, or the people that are facing us, whose opinion actually really matters, those kind of conversations of watch shaming, snobbing, and all these kind of things, it doesn't exist.
No.
So it's weird because it's almost like I want to find who these people are, because when I talk to people, they actually are excited about watches just as much as I am. So where are these guys? I mean, they are in different environments. We know of that. but it's like in the wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you my experience. The loudest people tend to be individuals who have never actually owned the brand.
Sure.
And it
Isn't
till
that
this
funny?
day, till this day, it drives me nuts because I remember there was a point in time where you hear so many things. I had this thought and opinion about people who own Rolex,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got to know a lot of people who own Rolex. And I'm like, well, like I go outside, people they're acting like they're not acting like you.
Yeah.
And they're some of the nicest people.
Oh,
They
yeah.
love their pieces. They'll never sit there and say, "Oh, my piece is better than yours." They're amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
But I found the people who are the loudest are the ones who actually never owned the brand. They're aspiring to it, but they never own the brand, and they're so loud about it. And they're like, "Oh no, this is this is that," and I'm just like, "This is so weird." Like you.
It is. And it's funny you say that because I feel like, especially with like Rolex collectors, what I typically find is the guys who've been doing it the longest are the nicest guys.
Yeah.
Right? They're so close to the history. There's a whole reason why they like it outside of like what's happening right now.
That's because back then when they first started buying Rolex, no one cared. You had to want it.
You
buy
did.
it.
You did.
Yeah.
And then you had these figures that would pop up that kind of made them love it, which kind of brings us to this next piece. Like talking about like a Jacques Cousteau wearing a Submariner, and and Ram would like this.
Yeah,
probably would.
Ram would like that. Yeah. Matter of fact, Ram does own
He
a
owns that
600
Of course he does.
I mean, he owns everything. He owns
So he's a supporter of the podcast, but he's also a friend of the podcast. This is someone who's actually become pretty near and dear to us, and he has 9 Doxas.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Every single day he like DMs or
By
he
the time
texts.
he listens to this episode, he'll probably have 10.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Like literally, like he'll text or he'll like DM and he'll be like, Rashawn, what you wearing today? And I send him a wrist shot. And he's like, tried and true. Boom. And like another Doxa. And I'm like, man.
He wears other stuff though. He has a Super Ocean.
He has a
sent me
Super Ocean.
a picture once, and right now he's hot on G-Shocks.
He's hot on
because
G-Shocks
of the podcast.
because of the
He got
podcast.
the 2100.
Yeah.
The one that Perri got me as a gift.
He literally picked up like 3 G-Shocks in like
A month.
a month.
I mean, it's easy to do that. Like G-Shocks are probably the most addictive type of watches.
They really
collect.
are.
You want to own them all.
Yeah.
You
They're
wanna have
they're
them all.
Swatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a Swatch.
Well, you were talking about one on your radar. I don't know if you want to share it, but
No.
Yeah,
I don't want to put that out there.
You're just,
Yeah,
gonna,
just-
you're just gonna see it.
Yeah, like it was funny because we were somewhere and I was like looking over Ben's shoulder.
And he was like,
And-
"What's that?" He's like,
So-
"Is that a Swatch?" I was like,
The
"Nah,
thing is, like-
don't worry about that."
So Ben, the way Ben works is like he's very meticulous. You don't know what he's thinking until he speaks. And then when he says it, you're like, oh, that's pretty powerful. And then I finally caught him. I was like, I got you.
He literally caught me sitting in the corner, looking on my phone, like staring at it, like real quiet. And he just walks up to me and looks straight down. He goes, "What you doing?"
Oh my
I
god.
had no choice but to expose myself.
Oh
Yes.
man.
So he knows what's coming, but y'all.
Oh,
won't.
I gotta find out.
Yeah.
You'll find out
It
when I
was
wear
good.
it.
Okay.
I finally got a leg up on Ben.
not a leg up. You just finally got on the same
Yes.
wavelength as me.
Okay. You have a sub 600T,
Yeah.
which I love. I know Rashawn loves this watch as well.
That's the TNT special.
Time and time edition.
Yeah.
What number do you have?
Oh man, I did not look at numbers when I got this watch.
Number 1.
That would be that. But no, it's
Oh, it says it here. 195 out of 200.
195. Yeah. Like I the second I got that watch, I just immediately put it on my wrist. It's titanium. It's nice and light.
It's awesome.
It's the no date version, so I love that. It's like your pure diver. Beautiful blue colorway. I think the guys did like a really great job on this one. So you're part of a company and part of a group, and you're just like, you know what, I'm a rep.
Yeah.
I'm a rep, and I got that, and that for me is just a fun watch. It's just a really fun watch. Like that's That's the watch where if I'm like down on the beach somewhere,
Exactly.
I'm just gonna toss that on.
Key
And
West.
I was as you said it.
Yes,
That's where my mind is going.
exactly.
You gotta
So-
take that and the gold Doxa.
I know everyone's like, why does this guy keep talking about Key West? I've been there once and I had the time of my life. And I've wanted to go back since. And for some reason, Doxas just remind me of Key West. I don't know what it is.
You know what I love about this piece too? How satisfying it is.
The
to
click
just,
is
like,
nice.
It's so good.
titanium
It's,
ball bearings.
Yeah.
That's the
This
secret.
right here, like, I mean, for me, this would be my fidget spinner. If I'm bent out of shape, I'm gonna
Like,
take
yeah,
this
yeah.
off and I'm just gonna
I feel like
just
that's
calm
most
down.
dive
Yeah.
watches for people nowadays.
So, and then it,
You just wanna
right?
play with them.
Yeah.
this is beautiful.
But going back to, sort of segueing from what we were talking about before and passion for watches, Doxa is one of those brands where I feel like you really have to love watches to own a Doxa.
Yes.
Like a Doxa is not a watch that you get to flex. It's not a hot piece. It is definitely a conversation piece when you're in certain circles. But like, you love a Doxa if you own one. You know what I'm saying? I mean, our friend has 9 of them.
Yeah. and his buddy has about 20 of them.
Yeah. So it's interesting to share these stories about what we're seeing on social media, because what I'm coming across is, people they're new to it, but the passion and the love is what's missing, which is why I think the snobbery comes out.
Yeah.
And if people could only find stuff that they actually are passionate about, but it takes a while to happen, especially for new people. It's like you get on social media, it's like Rolex.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that's what I have to have. But a Rolex starts at $5,400.
if you can get one.
And
If you
can't
can get one.
You're
So it's a
talking about
while
OP.
before you have something on your wrist.
Well, it costs you. The funny thing is that it costs you more than the ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at, base, Rolex model, like, yeah, it says 5,600. Doesn't cost you 5,600.
No, it doesn't.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But that's a different conversation.
Sure.
The coolest thing about, like you said, finding your passion and finding your love, I think where it gets skewed is the fact that everybody believes that if they buy a watch, it has to appreciate.
Yes.
How do I make money?
Yep.
Whether you want to sell the watch or not, it is a bigger flex to be like, oh, I brought this and it's an asset. Oh, I brought this and now look how much it's worth. And, if you kind of go about watches that way, I think
You'll never be happy.
you'll never be happy. If you're buying watches, you'll never be happy. But if you're collecting watches, that's a different conversation.
That is a different conversation.
100%.
Yeah, it's scary how heavily focused we've gotten when it comes to investment pieces. And I always laugh, and I always share this with anyone who starts talking about that. Like, you do realize the overwhelming majority of watches you can purchase will lose their value the second you buy them.
Yep. It's like
The
buying a car.
overwhelming majority, 99% and some more 99999s. But because certain watches get so much limelight and so much attention that, like you said, it skews people to think that, oh, you know what, that's what I have to think about first. No, first thing you should think about is buying wisely,
Yep.
which anybody can do. And then, you buying wisely, finding what you like so that you're not constantly losing money selling
Yes.
Yeah.
pieces. These are the things you should think about. Experiencing watches through friends. You have collector groups, you see watches, you get to try them out, put them on the wrist. These are the things you should be focusing on and not on investment. Because if you focus on investment, it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
The people who are making money on these pieces have a ton of money already.
Yes.
Yes. And that's why I said the stickers could say one thing, but there's something else different there.
Yeah. It's a very large investment to make serious money on a watch.
Exactly. So if you are selling, flipping watches or doing whatever you're doing, sure, you look good on the camera when you flex, your Daytona and everything else, but
A real collector's not going to care.
a real collector's not going to care.